big. Did you have like a major spurt?
Yeah. It was 6th to 7th grade.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
6th to 7th. That's pretty early.
Yeah, I got to like 6'2", I think, by 7th grade or so. But I was, I mean, it was like 8th grade or 5th grade. My dad was in Desert Storm.
Oh,
and he went away. He was taller than me. He came back, and I was taller than him.
really?
Like, yeah, it was like classic, coming off the plane.
And that wasn't even that long. Desert Storm wasn't that long.
Well, he deployed before. Well, so he's Desert Shield and Desert Storm.
Okay.
So he deployed for 9 months. So in that 9 months, I was already close, but I wasn't.
Yeah. What branch of the military was
Air
he?
Force.
Oh,
Air
really?
Force. Yeah, he did 33 years. So he's enlisted for a while, and then he left, got his education, and got commissioned after that.
Was he tall too?
Yeah, he's I guess he's probably closer to 6'1" now, but he's about 6'2".
Yeah. Did he fly?
No, he was a maintenance guy.
Okay.
So
To say most of those guys, they outgrow those jets if they get a little too tall. Some of them.
yeah, it's a proportion thing. My wife's actually was a Navy pilot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and she was telling me, she's got like a long torso, and so it's a relative measurement. So you can be like 6'8", which, but if you have like a tiny torso, that's okay, or something like that.
Really?
Because it's how
It's the way you're sitting in there.
exactly on your ejection seat or ejection aircraft, I guess, is more probably accurate.
What did she fly?
She did F-14s and F-18s.
Really?
Yeah.
She's a badass.
Oh yeah. She's much more
she's way
accomplished
cooler
than me.
than you
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
That's awesome.
Are we going?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, we just kind of roll into it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Was she in for quite a while?
I think she was active for 10 years. I met her while I don't know how many years she was in when I met. But she did like, I think 11 years active duty, and now she's recently retired from reserves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's wild. I mean, I always say, man, it's just got to be an unbelievable feeling. I've never been in one of those jets. But
Yeah.
I just can't even imagine.
Yeah, I grew up around planes in the military. So it wasn't, I don't know if I didn't give it as much credit at the time when I met her. It wasn't a big deal. It was it was a big deal to, my parents or some of my friends are like, oh, she flies planes. I was like, well, yeah, but I mean, everyone was flying planes when I was a kid, and it kind of grew up. But as I'm older and I realize the accomplishment, it's she's legitimately impressive to me.
Yeah.
Even and I only saw her fly. Maybe I remember I was there for her last flight.
Oh, really?
And my parents just happened to be in town too. And she does this really cool break over top of the runway. Cause I guess, on a carrier, they kind of come over top of it, and then they kind of turn, they call it the break, and they turn really hard and sharp. They're not lined up for a long, long way behind the boat.
Yeah.
And, it's close enough you could see her, like you're like, wow, she's right there in the thing.
That's
and,
wild.
and it's,
Did you ever get to fly with her?
No, they don't let that happen.
They don't let you take it on like dates and shit?
No, but what's strange is they actually let you got to get like a certain amount of like cross country hours or whatnot.
Yeah.
So you sort of can like check out a jet for the weekend, which is like kind of weird stuff. Like, cause you're either getting hours or quals, and she definitely had taken it to like Pittsburgh to see her parents, and they had been to visit, and she was home and landed before her parents got home from the airport in Pittsburgh.
That's insane.
Down to Virginia Beach. We were in she was in Oceana at the time.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's wild. So where did you grow up?
So primarily I would say all over, but I spent a bunch of time in Virginia. So we did 6 years in England and 2.5 years in Germany as a kid. My dad did some exchange tours. So we had some really cool experiences of foreign bases, I guess.
Yeah.
And came to the States for, I think it was 4th grade. So, most of my time here, but like, my young childhood, I guess, was overseas. But, like there was some fun cultural things that I just, kind kind of lacked or whatever. And certainly sports and popular culture for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. You didn't play much for sports then, or?
Well, we did, like you males play field hockey and you play cricket and those things. So, I was on the cricket team in this little, English private school where you wear the AC/DC uniform, so I knew how to tie a double Windsor, but I didn't know, what rules about basketball, which I would later, go on to play because of just height.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So where did you end up going to high school then?
High school would have been Virginia, Yorktown. Okay. So Tab Tigers. Yeah. And, and then I spent most of my last 20 years or so in Virginia. I went to college, in Virginia as well.
Did you play basketball in college?
No. Well, for 1 year after I graduated high school, I got a scholarship to play in the Midwest at a JUCO out there. Mm-hmm. And, it was a great experience. Like it still sits with me. But it was something I just didn't want to pursue. The Midwest wasn't for me. Yeah. Both culturally and I just, it wasn't something I just didn't want to keep playing. Yeah. We kind of started the season early. There's no one keeping an eye on this, your tiny school and, you can extend the season as long as you want, whether the rules say you can or not. Yeah. And I was just tired. I was tired and, kind of homesick of Virginia. And, I wanted to come back to the East Coast at the time. And, I remember playing, I played some intramural ball and they tried to get me to go play for the school. But honestly, the competition was different. This was just Christopher Newport, just a D3 school. Yeah. And what I didn't know anything about JUCO and the Midwest and what that was about. And that was, it's really a pipeline for the inner city kids that can't qualify because of grades and suspensions and all kinds. Everyone had a GED. Everyone on the team had a scholarship. Right. And they are serious, athletes. Yeah. And it was incredible to see that level of athlete and thinking. It was just much different than in high school, how I looked at community college or whatever. Yeah. And it's community college. What kind of sports is it going to have? No. This is a different thing. They can't get these guys eligible for 2 years until they get some grades in them and stuff.
Yeah. And it's still that way, even forgetting about the grade thing. Just, there's athletes it's even been suggested to my son, if you're looking or think you can play at a bigger level, mm-hmm. but you're from a small town and you're just not getting the looks. You're not part of the big circuit and you're not maybe getting the recruiting that you think you might deserve. You can go to an NAIA school where my daughter's at, but a lot of those schools, a lot of those kids don't play right away. I know a kid right now in Butte that's not playing a lot. He's a freshman, whatnot. But if you go to more of a JUCO, a little lower level, and it's hard because it's counterintuitive. These kids are well, that's low level. I want to go to a little bigger school, but a little bigger NAIA school, they sit. Mm-hmm. You go to a JUCO, they can really show out for a year and then actually try to get recruited into a D1 program.
It's a serious, there are leagues, I guess, or conferences for JUCO. Mm-hmm. The Midwest was a serious one, Florida and mm-hmm. California or Texas, mm-hmm. Those areas. But I remember we were not a popular, super well recruited type school, but it was some of the people we played. And out in the Midwest, you got nothing to go do, but there was 6,000 people to go watch a JUCO game, because there's nothing else to do. So people go.
Especially in the Midwest, Indiana and whatnot, basketball's, king in a lot of those areas.
Yeah. And and honestly, the athletes, there were phenomenal players. I was, I'm 6'5", so the third shortest guy on the team, I'm a small kid and, so it's just a different game. If you had exposure, which I had some in Virginia, I did a tiny bit at AAU, but I was a mediocre player. I was not, wasn't a phenomenal athlete or anything. And, but I had some exposure to that, but then really being around a ton, three guys that are 6'10", it's a different game. And it adjusting to it was a neat problem that I probably wasn't, I don't know. At that point in my life, I just wasn't ready to face it. It just wasn't, I wasn't passionate about it in the same way. I wish I would have maybe stuck it out, but I mean, whatever. Like, I'm really happy how it worked out. So, like,
yeah, my son's actually hoping to get another inch or two, because that 6'5" range, like, that's tall for just normal life compared to the average people. But
college basketball, that's short.
It's like that's a guard, you know. And Hank's actually a big kid. You know, he's 230 pounds and he's strong. But really, to play the position he's probably most suited for, he needs another inch or two, minimum. I mean,
prep schools are a big thing too. I don't know if we have those here in Montana, but that's another, like, I've seen where kids were kind of taken out for that senior year and get moved to another school. I don't know if that's popular, but that was definitely done more for football, I saw, than basketball per se.
It's definitely in those bigger areas. You don't really see it around here.
Yeah.
There was a kid that left locally and went to a bit of a prep school for a year somewhere out of state. I don't know where he went, but yeah, it's not really a thing around here, but you definitely see that a lot out in the Midwest and on the East Coast, down south.
And tournaments are another good one. Like, if there's like summer league stuff that he can get into that's be travel, that would be the
that's
way.
why he played in Kansas City a couple times this summer. He played in Denver.
That's going to do it. I mean,
several places. Yeah. And it's a challenge. You do have to kind of get out there and to try to get seen, because here in Montana, it's a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the size of the state. I think most people just don't even really kind of comprehend. So, like, oh, he's just in the neighboring state. The recruiter, just go across the state and go check him out. But that just doesn't happen.
No, well, and they don't have the competition here. It's hard to rise to a top level athlete in the state, because, you know, you can be like him and be the best player on your team, maybe the best team player in the conference, maybe the best player in the state, and just not be seeing the kind of competition that, like, if he was in Seattle, he would have to be fighting for every minute on the court.
Yeah.
And here, it's like, you're the best player.
Yeah.
And so to realize at a young age, to push to that next level, I mean, that's why you rarely ever see Montana kids, even at a big Division I program, much less the NBA. I mean, almost never, you know, but there's just, I
imagine different sports, right? Like, basketball is it's obviously a team sport, but you're exposed to your individual talents. You can't really hide's the wrong word, but, like football, you can be part of this big team and this big unit, and they can kind of move you and mold you to do something. Where maybe not as quarterback,
and you can just be a freak athlete in football if you're big and fast.
Right,
they can figure it out for you in a couple of years and find you a spot on a field at some of the biggest programs in the country.
Correct.
Basketball, and like baseball, it's such a skill sport.
Yeah,
and if you don't have that coaching and that competition to really refine those skills, such a skill sport.
Basketball, like, I always look at these NBA players. I'm always amazed by, like, you know, like, most people don't stand next to a 6'10" guy, let alone, like, this guy's, you know, 4% body fat.
Yeah.
He's 285 pounds and he's 6'10". Like, that is just,
and can move like a cat.
It's just so ridiculous. Like, if you just that person in the room with you, let alone you knowing what he could do, is just, it's really impressive to see.
That guy with the Spurs this year, Victor Menenwamba or whatever his name.
Oh yeah, like the 7-footer.
He's like 19, 20. He's 7'6".
Yeah, but he moves, silky.
But he's shaking down guards in the NBA and hitting threes over them, and then driving and dunking. It's
ridiculous.
It's insane.
Well, it's like when Shaq. I mean, I'm the generation when, like, Shaq came in. Like, you're like, what are these guys doing? Like, how are they gonna, like? There weren't that many 7-footers, and there were 0 7-footers that moved like Shaq.
Yeah.
And then, let alone, just even if he was 6'10", he was just so strong.
Massive,
and
strong.
And just movement. You're like, these old school, like, you know, 6'10" centers trying to guard him, like, forget about it.
Well, you see these guys out on the court that they're small. They're guards, like small, quick guards. And then you realize, like, no, that guy's 6'5".
Yeah.
6'4". He's like your height.
That's what I tell people all the time.
And he looks
like, no,
cute.
man, I'm small.
He's like, oh, look at that cute little guy running around. It's like, you don't realize how big the big guys are. And same thing in the NFL. Like, until you walk onto an elevator with a, you know, offensive lineman, and you stand next to those guys, you just don't have any concept of the mass of those guys. They're massive.
Well, it reminds me, shout out to one of my friends, Brad. He played at University of Virginia football, and he is, I guess he's 6'8", probably played at 330 or so. And, you know, and it just from a distance, you say, oh, it's a big guy. And all right, he played football. And I remember he challenged one of my, or I think one of my friends' wives challenged. He's like, oh, I can run faster than you. And she was a great athlete.
Yeah.
And he's like, you don't realize how fast a powerful a person is, or just like a man that has played D1 football, and just getting off the line, they did a little race. And of course, like he won.
Smoked her.
Yeah. And it's just like, several years after football, but just be like, oh, I can beat you. And you're like,
that's what's insane, is you just don't realize the speed and the quickness of guys that size. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But you see him running down running backs. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It is incredible. Like I know there's an NBA guy that does like a YouTube thing, that he's a retired NBA guy, and he, explains that like, I am closer to LeBron James than you are to me, kind of thing. And he was just like self-admitted kind of scrub, or like maybe 8-man on whatever teams, but he had a long career, and he just challenges average Joes to like pick up games. And you're like, you are going to get absolutely worked.
Just destroyed.
Like to get to the NBA level, especially NBA in particular, because the roster's so small.
Yeah.
In football,
5 guys.
Football is like, those guys are still phenomenal athletes and whatnot. Right. No doubt. But it's just a numbers
52-man roster.
Right. Yeah. So it's incredible.
Well, even the levels that, like, you look at college football at the University of Montana, MSU here over in Bozeman, and you see the size and the speed of those guys, which is, it's impressive. It's phenomenal how impressive it is. And I had a cousin that coached for the Cats for years, and he got to go work a camp down at Alabama when Saban was there, as a helper coach, And these are high school kids that are coming in trying to get recruited by Alabama. I mean, they've been invited to this camp, and Alabama's looking around, maybe going to choose a handful, maybe. The rest of these kids aren't even getting offered at Alabama, and he's like, every single one of those kids, the Cats or the Grizz, would die to have. Yeah. And he said the size and the speed of the young men that were 16, 17-year-olds running around that field. He said, I've been around big football players my whole life. And then there's Alabama. Yeah. It's just insane. And he's like, these guys that like are the size of like our offensive tackle, but they're running a 4.5 and they're a tight end.
Yeah.
They're just massive. He said the receivers, everything about it was mind-boggling. And then only a handful of those people ever make the NFL. Mm-hmm. It's just crazy, the levels of it, all the way along.
Yeah. I mean, the worst guy in the NFL is probably a phenomenal, even the damn kickers. I mean, that guy's probably, competing with somebody.
Yeah. Well, back when they were in high school, they were athletes on the field. I mean, they were, right. If you're the kicker, you're probably also the freaking linebacker or the corner or quarterback. I mean, who knows? I mean, the way it is around here, a lot of those kids do everything. But so what'd you major in college?
Business, for whatever good that was. Like I have, feelings about college. I was actually, talking with a friend recently how I wish they made you do like an elective. Like they wish you were going to be a expert drywaller or something at the same time, and it's not that, there's already like, I'd say bullshit degrees, and I would actually throw business sort of in a bullshit degree, unless you're going to go on to, you want to be an economist or get more education to work that. But it was just a period of growing up for me. Sure. It's really, and that was useful for me. I'm not going to say that wasn't useful at all. But I would have loved to see somewhere where like, hey, instead of some elective, you could actually go and say become a plumber or something. Get 2 years. You have like some basic whatever that like, all right, you leave this university. This is your goal, was to go into business and go work in a cubicle somewhere, and that'd be great. But in the meantime, while you're looking for this job, hey, you can go work on a crew or just have that exposure, right? And
Yeah.
Yeah. But
yeah, something real. I mean, I think it's amazing just growing up how I did in my childhood in the excavation world, how many times throughout my life then I've used those skills. So even if you had a little base level knowledge of electrical work or plumbing or something, I guarantee you later in life, you know, your first home or a fixer upper or your neighbor has something, like you end up using those skills more than you would think.
100%. I think, yeah, I mean, that's probably a subject that's I'm real passionate about, is making stuff. Learning how to do something really well helps you do other stuff. Okay. You know, like just understanding how to get the knowledge or what question to even ask somebody per se ends up giving, you know, and that's, you know, kind of what's brought STUMPTOWN together is I didn't know how to do what I was doing. It was definitely not a business. It wasn't set out to be a business.
Sure.
And I like different elements of it that I still like today. And then there's these other elements that are like even more attractive now. And, you know, it's one of those, you know, part of the business is getting people to make, you know, so I sell handles, you know, you can go make your own project. You know, I'm expensive now because, you know, I've worked on my brand and I sell an expensive product. But if you want to make it, I also sell you a handle.
Sure.
I also sell you tools now. Go do it. And, you know, and not everyone needs to go mount an axe or something, or like probably in your case, like make a knife. But by learning that, you might find you're like, oh, you know, I always wanted to do this other thing.
Yeah, it might spin off into another thing. And I've said that several times, like when I've taught people a little bit of, you know, forging or knife making class stuff. You know, when we taught a group of veterans here, I said, I'm not trying to turn everybody here into a knife maker. I mean, maybe it'll really take to it and they'll end up being a knife maker, but you might enjoy the forging. You might decide you like making, you know, doing some blacksmithing, like making hooks for your wife's kitchen for hanging pots and pans.
Yeah.
You know, a gate or you might decide you like horseshoeing, or you just don't know where those little avenues and where that's going to it's going to trip somebody's trigger. Maybe you do make a knife and you decide you really like the shaping of the wood on the handle, and you know, the next thing you know, you're getting into woodworking. So you just don't know where those avenues are going to go.
I don't think people, and like I'm including myself in that, are open to that. They're, you know, when I went through college and you know, my parents were like, you're going to college and you're doing this. And that's just, I thought everyone does that. Okay, this is what I got to do because I want a house someday and I want these things. And realizing that, you know, and I'm glad I did it, but there are other things you could be doing, you know, simultaneously. You could easily start how I started while having a job, you know, while having a full-time job.
What was your job? What were you doing? Like, what'd you do after college?
After college, just, you know, you bounce around some bullshit stuff. The longest thing I did, I owned a bicycle shop for 11 years in Norfolk, Virginia. And that's where I met my wife, or just through the shop kind of, and still have like a lot of friends through that today. So I rode bikes and, you know, it was like into endurance sports, I guess, at some point. Still am, sort of, to some degree. And yeah, that was like a great life for a long time. And it was, you know, and that's probably the first introduction to working with your hands.
Sure.
And you know, I'm a horrible mechanic as far as mechanics go. Like I can wrench on a bike and I know what I'm doing. But I was never one of these guys, like, you know, the guys, two of my service managers were just fantastic mechanical guys. They were the tidy up guys, like the type that are like, all right, here's the tool, I'm using the tool, and it goes right back in this spot, which I'm always jealous of because my instincts never went to that. I'm the mad scientist, kind of the messy, it gets everywhere. Like, all right, where's the next thing? And like, I sort of know where it is. And I lose some efficiency of that.
Sure.
But it's also like, lets me kind of flow. And that's just what I do.
Yeah.
But that was the first introduction. And some of the fun things we did weren't all bike stuff. You know, if somebody would rate, hey, would you guys be willing to work on this thing? Or, you know, some sort of mechanic, and we'd all be like into it, you know, whether it's making brackets for something. It was like, you know, very light fabrication work. Right. And then, you know, we'd have these, actually I still have this drawer. When I closed the shop, one of the most valuable things in the entire shop to me was this, you know, this old school drawer of bolts and nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
And I've fixed more stuff around the house, still going back to that well of all these different weird washers and stuff that come along your way. Cause this was 2005 to 16. And, you still worked on stuff then, now, you got electric bikes and motors and all the shit. And, we were still seeing a lot of older stuff, which you did have to actually tune. You had to understand like, hey, it was a fun problem solving, which is like, all right, I'm getting tension. There's a spring back here in this derailleur. This is it pulls in one direction, it springs in the other. And if it's not doing this, then it must be somewhere in this area.
Right. So you ran that bike shop until 16?
16, yeah.
Is that when you came to Montana?
No. We stayed in there because my wife went back on, I guess it's called, what is it called? Full-time active reserve for like a year or two. And
was she deploying kind of this whole time?
No. So like it's weird timing. I met her right before she was basically going on a shore tour. So she had just come off, not just come off, but almost come off deployment. And we had gotten hooked up through two mutual friends. We got like sort of both tricked into meeting each other. And after that, she had like an Admiral's Aid tour. So like that was like, you can go to a school or you can do whatever. It's supposed to be your like time off or whatever. And, but then after that, she became an instructor, which again, like you're just based out of Oceania again. So like two kind of back-to-back short tours. And then basically she would punch, because we wanted to have kids. I got 3 kids. And, we got married during, I don't remember if it was during her, I think it was during her instructor tour, or maybe, no, it couldn't have been. Actually, she won't even laugh. She knows I have a horrible memory about this kind of stuff, but it was during that time, she was still in the Navy because we still had the sword arch, controversial sword arch. Cause, the last person's supposed to pat the normally the bride on the rear, and I was like, nobody's patting me on the goddamn rear with the fucking sword. And they got this senior enlisted guy who normally would not be in a sword arch. They got him in this position, and he went ahead and patted me, and luckily I was like sick as a dog for my wedding, so I was not very engaged in like going at somebody at the time, but
that's funny. So at what point did you come to Montana then? So did you start doing Stumptown before you came to Montana?
No. So we go out to Seattle area, Issaquah, and we were in we moved out there in 2018, and my wife ended up working for Amazon then.
Okay.
And like Seattle's like it's a beautiful place, lots of outdoor stuff. And I was like, oh, this is great. There's a lot of outdoor companies here, and I'll land something here.
Yeah.
And like it's we're getting adjusted, and it's beautiful. I'm applying to all these different jobs, corporate jobs, right? And it's a different thing. And then I find out how, like, I guess unqualified I am in the eyes of the corporate world.
Of the corporate America.
Right. And probably truthfully in some respect I was, I guess, right? Like I wasn't as familiar. But I was like, look, I've ran an outdoor store. Like I know customers, I know merchandising, I know, certainly real estate and some of these deals. And, I'd go on these interviews, some interviews and stuff. And it was all entry level stuff. I was like, look, I'll start at the bottom.
Right.
Cause I get it. Like, what are you going to do with this guy? But I was like, I remember one of the worst ones, REI has their corporate headquarters out there, and they had a bike shop.
Yeah. They got a bike section.
And they had a merchandiser. So like somebody that would say, okay, you should stock this on this little upright. This is probably the mix that would be good.
Yeah.
And I remember I got some sort of screening. They're like, oh yeah, we might invite you to come in. And I was like, and then of course they ghosted. This was like during that period where employers were ghosting like crazy. And I was like, God damn, it's like, this guy didn't even, like, whoever this manager was, didn't he want to like steal some ideas from me or something? And I was like, and like, you come to find out a lot of that stuff is because, they post a job, they already know who they're hiring, right? They're probably elevating somebody within. I didn't know at the time, because like, again, I for that 11 years, I paid zero attention to what the hell was going on in the corporate world.
Yeah.
And, like that got me like, I was definitely bitter. Then the fucking weather in Seattle is like, it's obviously like it is here, but here, 15 degrees cooler, it's snowing. And you can be outside in the snow. And that's
when it's 20 below, a lot of times it's crystal clear blue skies.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Right. Yeah. And, I think I definitely during that time, I'm angry about like not getting hired. I'm sort of dealing with the bike shop, because when we closed the bike shop, it was like sort of a sudden thing. Cause I was like, you hit something and you look at some numbers and you're like, this is the best time to do it. Mm-hmm. If I'm gonna walk away and not be, not lose a house, not lose, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, I better do it now. Mm-hmm. And it was probably the best business move I ever made, because the inventory was just in the right kind of spot that made it possible to not destroy lives, basically.
Right.
And it just like, wasn't clean, but we didn't have to get lawyers, and there wasn't a protracted event. Mm-hmm. But during that time, I'm like, God, I can't get a job. You start, all these things start compiling. And I think like every dude kind of goes through these dark times. I turned 40 and I'm like, I'm no good to anyone, right?
Right.
You start getting these whispers in your mind about that aren't true necessarily, right? Like, I mean, like, and honestly, they get really, really dark,
right?
At some point where you start convincing yourself, and it's really given me a lot of empathy for people that have lost that fight, because you do really start to think that the people around you are better off without you,
right?
And that's almost 99% not true.
Yeah.
And so eventually, self-preservation or whatever, I was like, I got to do something, and I don't know what that is. And it was actually probably Jordan Peterson's stuff, like consuming some of his stuff, with just like, just like take 15 minutes, start doing some to-do list, and like it could be as obnoxious as you want it to be. Mm-hmm. And I literally started at 15 minutes at a time, because I was watching the kids. The kids were quite small at that time. My wife was working a ton, and I was in a position that I didn't want to be. I wasn't like set out to be Mr. Mom. Like that wasn't a good. It wasn't a good fit. It's a better fit now, but it wasn't a good fit then at all, because I just wasn't mentally engaged in it. I didn't, it was an unfamiliar thing.
Yeah, and even ego-wise, like as a man, like you want to be the breadwinner or whatever. And it'd be hard if your wife's working, you're not working or struggling.
As much as that sounds like, that never really bothered me. She was already a fighter pilot, and like it was already this.
She's already a badass.
Yeah, it was one of these things that like that never affected me, and I always felt like we were a team.
Yeah,
and so like the family was doing good. I individually was being selfish and wallowing in my own
just that rejection and not being able to find.
Yeah, it was like, well, what was this last 11 years for?
Right.
Like how did that not help? How could I have been so stupid not to have retained anything that would be of value?
Right.
And it made me look at, okay, what is value and this kind of thing. And I got some kind of idea to say I need to do something myself. And I got a sewing machine. Mm-hmm. And because I sometimes say like STUMPTOWN started with a sewing machine, because I was like, hey, so much of product-based stuff is marketing, right? We're repeating a lot of the same themes, and occasionally some of those themes catch fire. And I was like, I'm gonna make a pair of shorts and make this own side hustle or something. I'll sell to dudes at this. They have this like great beer festival. It's like I'll sell a pair of shorts, cargo shorts for whatever, and I'll start a brand, and it'll just be something I want to do. And I never got like, so I got the sewing machine. It's great. I still have it. And I was like, I'm just not that passionate about it.
Yeah.
But I was like, but it was action and it was in the right direction. And in the meantime, I had just started being on social media, just consuming it, not like posting about anything. But I saw a restored axe, and not too dissimilar, to something you have.
Yeah.
And the person, it was a guy from Australia who's, I still consider probably the best lance, one of the best handle makers in the world. And he happened to be a really good photographer as well. And he was taking pictures of these handles he was making and restoring these heads. And I was just like, God, whatever it was, it resonated, right? Both from an artistic sense of capturing, because this is when on Instagram, there's no reels, right? Like, or I guess you could post a video, but nobody was consuming it like that.
Right.
And we had this, I saw these pictures and I was like, man, I want to make something that makes somebody feel that way, that I'm feeling, right? And like, I like this. And sure enough, in that Seattle area, the history of AXES is massive, right?
Yeah,
the timber industry is huge there.
Right.
And every person's garage, whether it's they bought it from somebody, has vintage AXES in it. There's a broken handle in every corner of every garage in Seattle, basically.
Yeah, and every pawn shop probably has
a
pile
my God.
of them.
It's just, because most people, I'm sorry, this one's rusty, so I'll sell it to you. But you're like, well, that's great. That's what I want.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I might be able to do that. Like I'd like one of these, but I'm not, right now, like I'm not working. There's no way I'm going to, the wife's not going to approve. I already have an axe.
Yeah.
They're not going to approve of me buying this guy's work. I was like, I wonder if I can make it. And I had no woodworking background whatsoever. My dad made tables occasionally, but he was more concerned with work than he was, with this kind of side hobby. He would go to the base hobby shop and stuff and turn pens and stuff like that. But it was never like, hey, come do this with me necessarily. And I was like, all right. So I went to Craigslist. I bought a head, and it did have a handle, but it was busted on it.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, like that'll be a good pattern.
Yep.
And there's a lumber yard in South Seattle. Went there like a, total noob, and, like it's more of a contractor type lumber yard. And like, I was like, looking like an idiot, like, well, how many board feet do you need? I'm like, what's a board foot? Like I think I need hickory. Didn't know anything about like, grain orientation or any of these like fancy terms or whatnot. But I got a big, just a big piece of hickory. I was like, here we go.
Yeah.
And I told my dad I was doing it, and he bought me, which is a tool I still have today, is a really, really nice rasp. It was a handmade rasp.
Yeah.
And with that, and then this terrible, draw knife from Amazon. That was like a 4-inch, 5-inch. It's way too small for what you're using, and too flexible and stuff. Started essentially whittling away at a handle.
Yeah.
And I finished the first one. God, it took me, because it was on and off, probably a month. And I don't know. I don't even want to know how many hours it took me. But I sort of like was watching YouTube videos, getting the understanding of like, okay, this is how to mount the head. This is how a wedge is working in conjunction with the thing. And I got the first one done, and it's like, I used it, and I sent it to a buddy as a Christmas present. And I was like, I think I'll make another one.
Yeah.
And, like, again, axe heads are super available, especially then. It's, it's a little bit more popular now. So people like chase them down a little bit more now. But, I got another axe head, and this one was way quicker. I already knew like kind of where I needed to be on a few things. And, by the fifth one, maybe I was like, all right, yeah, this is cool. And, like then I started on my personal Instagram just saying like, oh yeah, this is what I'm up to and whatever. And it was more like a friend of a friend said, how much?
Yeah.
How much are you charging for those? I was like, charging.
Yeah.
I was just kind of making them,
right.
Like sort of giving them away. And I was like, I don't know, this much. And sure enough, they're like, yeah, okay. I was like, all right, yeah, here.
Yeah.
And
all of a sudden you're in business.
Yeah, like it wasn't that quick. It was just something, like it was keeping me busy.
But it had to have been a little bit of a spark of like, oh, I might be able to sell a couple of these.
It was a spark of like, I'm not feeling sorry for myself.
Yeah.
More than anything. And it still wasn't, considered a business. And then all of a sudden COVID hits.
Yeah.
We're out in Seattle, which it's batshit crazy with the lockdowns, right? We're early because it was sort of discovered or whatever in the United States in the Seattle area. And it's just miserable. I'm still working on these AXES a little bit. The kids are home from school and, like they're needing so much of the tech support.
Yeah.
It's just terrible. And I was like, we got to get out of here.
Yeah.
And housing prices, we had actually tried to buy in our neighborhood several times. Full price offers, first day, seeing a house. And it's like, outbid $50,000,
Yeah. My sister's a realtor out there. It's just crazy.
Oh man. Eventually it was one night, if you need to know anything about my wife, is like the stereotype of like a fighter pilot chick, as you would imagine. That's her.
Yeah.
So like, I eventually convinced her like, hey, it's a good idea if we look somewhere else, to live. And she finally it was like that, and she was like, all right, that's what we're doing. And she and then I think it was like 2 weeks later, we had looked, cause we were looking like, Bend, Oregon was another spot. I had started skiing right when we moved to Seattle. I'd never been skiing before, just growing up just wasn't what we did,
right.
know? And I had fallen in love with it. Like I tried to ski all the time. I'm a horrible skier, still am a horrible skier, but I'll go, 50, 60 times a year, like I can't get enough. And I was like, I want to move to a mountain town that has like a ski hill. And Bend, was right there, the access to the outdoors, having kids, having 3 kids now, like the advice I always give guys is like, if you are not closer than 20 minutes to the hobbies that you have as a dad, you're going to have to say goodbye for a certain amount of time to those hobbies.
Right.
And so, we're looking, one night, house pops up, 3 other houses pop up in the Whitefish area. And I think that was like a Friday night. And Sunday morning, I got up at 3 a.m. and drove out and took a look. And Monday morning, put an offer in.
Really?
Yeah. And then, a month later, we were, it's October of 2020.
Yeah.
And we got lucky. October is a great time to buy a house generally. And I think what we didn't know is the house had an offer and had fallen through in the summertime.
Oh.
And so, it wasn't under duress, but there was
people get a little desperate because they know they're headed into winter.
Right. And it was the only dip in the market in all of 2020 was October. So we got in a time, unfortunately, we couldn't afford Whitefish now.
Yeah. For people that don't know, I mean, Whitefish is really it's a vacation resort town, frankly now, I mean, for the wealthy. I mean, it's damn near impossible to get into that place if you're just an average American on an average salary. It's just a beautiful area. It's been discovered.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been, a wealthy area for a while, but just recently it's become pretty much out of touch for most people. It's just,
I think
it's a challenge. And it's a challenge to, make a living, depending on what you do. And if you're a regular person and paying for a house in Whitefish, I mean, but honestly, it's a challenge to do that here in Missoula. I mean, just in Montana in general, especially Western Montana.
Yeah.
But it's at a premium in Big Sky, Whitefish, places like that.
I would agree with that. I mean, I have plenty of normal friends, neighbors that are, similar, a lot of actually retired military that also got there at the right time or just before.
There's a big community of veterans around Western Montana in general, but up around the Flathead for sure.
Yeah.
Down the Bitterroot. I mean,
we're really surprised, like per capita, it seems, and that's coming from, me being around military forever. I wouldn't have expected that.
Yeah. But I think a lot of these guys, they get out of the military. They want somewhere somewhat remote, but also access to, the outdoors and, get out of they've spent a lot of time maybe in shitty areas, and it's beautiful area. And I think, allows people to shoot and do different activities, hunt, fish, ski. I mean, it's
unlimited.
Yeah, it's unlimited.
Yeah.
So you do see a lot of veterans retire and try to come out west for sure. Spent maybe their whole time along, Virginia Beach or, in Texas on a base or wherever. And they're ready for.
Yeah. I was done with the humidity of the South.
Yeah.
Being in Virginia, and, like we laugh now, the kids were all born in Virginia. But they just don't, in the summertime here, it does get hot. You're at an elevation, you're 3,000 feet. Like, yes, it does feel hot in the sun when it's 85 here.
Yeah.
But it's nothing. And, this past summer, we went back to Virginia Beach and out the Outer Banks for some vacation time. And they got exposed again as the older kids, to that humidity when it's 95.
Yeah.
It's a 90% humidity. Oh, it just
my son got to experience that for the first time really in his life this summer.
Yeah,
at a basketball tournament.
Was that in Kansas City?
Yeah, and in Missouri there. And he's like, Dad, we tried to go outside and play basketball, and he's like, couldn't hardly breathe.
Oh,
and, and I'm like, yeah, those kids grow up playing pickup ball out there for hours, and those freaking northern boys were down there he's just dying.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird feeling. Like I went for a run. And on Virginia Beach, I can't remember the road, Atlantic or whatever. And I remember thinking, like, the first couple steps is like, I'm not used to it, but I grew up in this, like, I'm breathing through a straw right now.
Yeah.
And I'm just like hoping to get to the shade. And like, there, the shade doesn't work. That's one thing I love about the West is like, you go stand in the shade, like even if it's hot, it feels great. You start evaporating and you're cooling down, and it's oh man, it's just,
Yeah, like you say, the shade down there doesn't work. Well, it's quite the coincidence that you moved to literally a town named STUMPTOWN.
Well, that's what I knew it was that was going to have to be the name of the business, right?
Yeah.
I was like, well, yeah, that's an easy one right there. It's like, and we knew that because like all there's still so many businesses named STUMPTOWN, and then you learn the logging history and there's a railroad town essentially that the logging industry needed, and it just made a lot of sense.
Yeah. So is that really when you kind of started the business, started to get, pretty real and treating it like a business? At that point?
That's, so I named it, moving. I knew before we moved, if we got the house and we were going to do it, I was going to call it STUMPTOWN. Like that was like, all right, this is sort of destined. But it was still, that's when I started the Instagram account, right? As STUMPTOWN, no longer. And so there's a mental switch, but it wasn't like I didn't believe in it, right? And I was like, that happens to other people, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I kind of just kept hammering away, and I still sort of felt like I needed more skills anyway. Mm-hmm. So I started thinking, trying to grow things out, whether it be like logo stuff. Coming up with the bear and the AXES, like that was, an easy thing for me. I was like, hey, Montana, I always think of bears. We got grizzlies.
Right.
Let's put an axe in its mouth. Like that's a no-brainer. And, started trying to fill out, the presence, I guess, a little bit more. And what the real change was getting going from a super old iPhone to a newer one. And I actually just got rid of that one recently. It was like a 12. And I was like, I started taking better pictures.
Right.
And I started being able to do exactly what, I'd say my mentor, he's a good friend, was able to do, is make people have an emotional connection to the things I was making, both whether it be from like how old something is and a reverence for the time, and the industrial age and essentially, the lumber industry is what kind of let America expand west. And it just started growing. Yeah. You started getting more, I remember thinking like, oh man, if I can just get, so a couple of these guys have 3,000 followers, like that is amazing. And, and just being real grateful and seeing it grow, seeing a demand, always having like a back order for like a handle or whatnot. And, then I just had to try and think like, okay, now it's a different problem. How do I scale? Like, how do I get more people you know, because I can only make so many axes. You know, if I'm
that's always the struggle I mean, whether you're a custom knife maker or a custom gun maker, an artist, it's scaling your own skills.
I mean, it had to be for you.
Yeah, that's why Montana Knife Company, you know, a lot of the reason why it exists, because as a custom knife maker, it's just a challenge. It's you know, you could make 10 axes and go to a show and walk away with a pocket full of cash. And by the time you get to the next show with 10 more axes, you know, you're struggling it's like, well, God, I hope I sell some of these or I can't pay my bills. I mean, it's literally like that. And the photography piece, that's some of the best advice I ever got before I even was out of high school. You know, there weren't iPhones and all that stuff. You had to pay for photography. And at these knife shows, there would always be a photographer there set up in a little room taking photos. And even if I couldn't afford it, I'd go pay the guy to take pictures of my knives where you had a really good photo of that knife, like in your photo album.
Okay.
And then at knife shows, you didn't have a website. People would flip through your photo album and they'd be like, oh man, look at that knife.
Oh, okay.
Oh, look at that one. Well, yeah, I'll order one of those.
Now, did you have like models kind of like this, that were your go-to models at that point?
I didn't really do the model thing. Every knife I made was basically unique.
Okay.
And somebody'd be like, well, I want that knife. I'm like, well, I don't copy that exactly, but I'll do, you know, but they'd go through the album and they'd be like, well, I like that handle. I like that blade. I like whatever.
Okay.
Like, okay, well, let's make you something super unique and special that's just for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be through really good photos in that photo album.
Yeah.
And I didn't have like the Blackfoot knife where I just made 100 of those. It was really individualized. But the other thing that happened is those photographers would take all those photos they took at a show and they sent those all into there's like 5 or 6 knife magazine publications that those photographers, as part of the fee, they would submit all those photos with your information.
Nice.
So a knife might just pop up in Blade magazine. And there I am. I'm in Blade magazine.
Did you remember the first one that did?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it was a big article when I was like 15.
Yeah.
But then month after month after month, almost every month, I'd have a knife in some kind of a magazine, and that was massive. And the photographers were doing all that work instead of me, you know, sending a photo into the magazine. And the magazines knew when they got that stuff from the photographers that it was all professional quality photography that they could actually find useful.
Okay.
And then they would file that under your name. And so after a while, the magazines get to where they know, like, oh, I'm doing an article on Damascus folding knives. Like, oh, Josh Smith makes those. Mm-hmm. And they can go pull one. It was really easy for them. So that was all kind of pre-website days.
Mm-hmm.
And in a ways into the 2000s, you know, but then again, people started building websites. What'd they need? Good photography. The knife makers who had a good catalog of photographs built really nice websites right in the very beginning. And even again, all the way up to today, like with what we do, we have amazing videographers and photographers.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing today.
Yeah. And so that advice from 1995 still holds true in 2025.
Yeah.
Whether you're selling axes or knives or guns or coffee, it doesn't matter. Really good photography is critical. Anybody that has a business that's selling any kind of a product, I don't care what that product is, good photography is worth its weight in gold.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's advice I would give, just like you did. I'll tell people that I see in the community that may be doing, like, there's a family friend that's starting some leather stuff. And I was like, get some pictures. Like, there's some portion of what you're doing that somebody's going to connect with.
Yes.
And you got to figure out, like, you know, so I grew, especially on YouTube, from like YouTube shorts, right? So like my YouTube got really big, really quick because I took advantage of shorts early on.
Yeah.
And most of them are like a 6-second clip, right? And part of that, I guess, is you got to spot out like what is the thing that you're doing.
Yep.
But everybody's doing something. Like, I don't care if it's leather, you know, you could be an editor and working a switchboard. There's some sort of tactile connection you could make, and you could clip it,
right,
and get that person to be like, huh, I wonder if that guy's going to do more of that. Or
yeah, there is. I don't care what your style is. You know, that's the other thing. Finding your own style. If you're a knife maker, or you're making any kind of product or whatever, there is a customer for everything.
Mhm.
Like you say, there's going to be a connection, whether it's leather or steel or whatever that people connect to. It could be branding, like the way that you do your branding with STUMPTOWN. That's the other thing that people do miss, is having good branding. And again, maybe your branding isn't this guy's style, but the next guy freaking loves it.
Yeah.
But if you have no branding, then you're nothing to nobody.
Yeah.
You know,
this is not the time of being like super sought after and squirreling away somewhere in some mountain. You can't get into the game now, do that. No. There's plenty of people that are so busy now that, you know, have been doing something for 20 years. And like, if you can get them on the phone, like a analog phone, maybe you can get on his wait list. But today, if you're starting something, you're going to have to, you don't necessarily have to get in front of a camera per se, but you're going to have to put the product or the
product
process.
Has to be. And I would argue that you're putting yourself in front of the camera is going to increase your odds of success 100-fold, even if you're not great in front of the camera. Because also, yes, people do like your AXES. People buy your AXES, but they're also buying you.
Yeah.
You know, they're buying the knife maker himself. They're buying, maybe that guy is a family guy and he's religious and he goes to church and he kind of talks about what he does, and somebody that really resonates with the guy. Maybe the guy's a biker and he's single and he likes to freaking go ride Harleys.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You know, you're a hunter, you're a fisherman, whatever. People want to know the person behind the product that they're buying. That's why we highlight so much our employees downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
One, it elevates them in the brand, and it helps them elevate themselves, but it also allows our customers to connect. Maybe they don't connect to me. Maybe four kids and a gray-haired knife maker doesn't connect, but maybe the videographer that rafts off waterfalls or kayaks off waterfalls on the weekend like resonates with that guy. Or, you know, the girl that we have that's going out hunting in the, you know, on the weekend or whatever. That's the cool thing about having now 80 or 90 different personalities in the shop.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You highlight those people, I guarantee you somebody on the internet's going to resonate with when they see that, oh, our guy out in the Midwest just shot a big whitetail in a tree stand. The whitetail hunter is going to be like, holy shit, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know, so I would argue, even if you're a bit awkward in front of the camera, people still resonate with that guy.
Yeah.
They might resonate with the fact that he is kind of shy and awkward, and you know, that comes across as real.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so it's and you're right. I mean, I actually had this discussion with a knife maker friend of mine, Harvey Dean, the other day about how knife shows are really struggling. And it's really, really unfortunate. It's something I think is actually sad, where that was the only way back in the 90s. If a guy was sought after, and let's say your backlog was 2 years, the only way to get an axe from Paul is to go find him at a show or a, you know, gun show or whatever. That was the way to get something now instead of wait on a waiting list. The other thing that allowed was real connection, where we can sit around in a hotel lobby and have a beer after the show and you can get to know the maker. Now, with the internet and with social media, people can feel like they know me and they've never even met me.
Yeah.
And there isn't necessarily the need to go to a show. And you can get a knife of anybody's. You can get the most collectible of anything. It's on the internet. Mm-hmm. It's whether you might have to pay more for it.
Yep.
But that was the only way at times to get a custom gun from a guy, or a custom knife, or any piece of artwork, even a bronze piece of, a bronze of an elk. You had to go find that artist at a show, or otherwise sit and wait in line. And now the internet's made that not necessarily. And I think there is something missing, some connection, because that's something I really enjoy about MKC is the interaction with our customers and the people.
It's probably like you're sort of describing layers, I guess, to the enjoyment of what we both get to do, sort of, right? Like, and that's only on a small, I've done a couple lives with like a buddy, there's one, Glenn out in, Connecticut, I've gotten where, and I don't know if people want to see it or not, but like, I want to catch up with a buddy of mine who I only know through Instagram. We've never met in person. Right. But we have each other's numbers. We text occasionally. And I feel like, he's a meaningful friend. He's not a lifelong friend, not a deep friend, that kind of thing. But sort of what you're describing is the layers that are missing. I think from the whether it be the maker community, and there's a maker camp that is in the Northeast that a lot of the people that I follow online do meet up occasionally, like at different times.
Yeah.
And I've definitely thought like, man, I need to go to one of those.
Well, that's where you can find inspiration. And again, the internet now provides a lot of that, where you can open up your phone, you can get a ton of inspiration, see what guys are doing, and be like, damn, wow, that's cool. I want to try that. Again, back in the 90s, you had to go to shows to see what everyone else is doing. But what's missing today is back at those shows, you could sit around at night for 2 or 3 hours, have a beer, and pick a guy's brain.
Yeah.
And be like, and get some energy and some life and some motivation, and be like, man, I got to get my ass in gear because, Paul's kicking my ass. Or he's Paul just started a couple of years ago and he's running me down. I better get going. There was just so much of that was so beneficial, and you could really sit down with somebody and ask about the nuance. Like, you can watch an Instagram video on how you make an axe handle, but I guarantee you, if somebody came and sat in your shop for 2 days and watch you make an axe handle, there's a ton of little nuance they're going to learn about your shop setup, about how you do things on your handles, the why. You get into deeper conversation, and that's a lot of things that are missing these days. But I'm also not the old curmudgeon that says, the internet and social media is terrible. Like, it's also made your business and mine possible.
Yeah.
Like, probably 25, 30 years ago, much more difficult for you to grow a STUMPTOWN the way that you have without the power of the internet.
I'd say impossible.
And same, obviously, with MKC. But I do think that connecting and that networking also is really cool with social media. And I actually hope, it's a good time to talk about it. The reason you're down here today is you brought a bunch of AXES down. We're going to be installing those AXES actually in our bathroom stalls.
In the shitter.
Some shitty AXES.
STUMPTOWN's going to the shitter.
Yeah. But we're going to install those as the handicap rails, in the bathrooms instead of just the regular old grab bars, which is going to be super, super cool. But part of the reason I wanted to do that too is sharing our customer base with you, right? That I think will be beneficial if they're sitting there in the stall and they look over, and we'll have a little tag in there that, says STUMPTOWN AXES, Whitefish, Montana.
Yeah. If
it makes them get their Google machine out, that's a win.
I'm not doing anything else.
Yeah, it's the time to do it.
Yeah, it's a weird when you ask, it's like, well, of course, like, I'm absolutely flattered to be asked, honored to do it. And then I went home and I was like, is this ideal product placement? Is this exactly where I want to be? But I was like, well, honestly, yeah, probably. Like, if you're going to think about when you have a captive audience there for at least several minutes while they're not doing anything.
Well, and I look at it as a tourist that comes into Montana. The first place they stop is this, coffee shop, Black Rifle Coffee Shop, and this knife company store, and they go in to use the bathroom. There's freaking AXES in there, right? Yeah. It's going to be much different environment than maybe where they've come from. And also, it might make them be like, what's the deal with these AXES? And then they start to learn a little bit of the history of, these AXES aren't just new AXES that you've made. The heads are old, and there's a lot of history. And that's something we didn't really talk about. Like, you're not making the entire axe. You're not forging the head. But I think it's really, really cool because we talk about, like, our knives getting passed down, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's say 100 years from now, somebody finds one of our blades in somebody's safe and the handles broke off, for example. Well, what a lot of people have done in the past is just throw that blade away or throw that axe head away, go down to the Murdoch's and buy him a brand new axe, probably made in China. It would make me feel really, really good in 100 years from now if they took that to a craftsman and somebody made a new handle for it, threw a new edge on that knife, and somebody started carrying it again. It's still perfectly usable. That blade steel is not going to go bad. It doesn't expire. Just like with an axe head, that axe head's still perfectly usable.
Yeah.
Or maybe they put a new handle on it and just hang it up and they collect it. And same thing with these AXES. There's plenty of guys, I'm sure, that are chopping wood every day with your AXES, and there's plenty of people that are putting them up in their living room as a display of history. And I just think it's so cool what you're doing.
It's definitely both. And I say that's over to the customer. I mean, you'll have people say, "Oh, those are wall hangers." Like, what's wrong with that? It's like, it's retired. We hang up all kinds of things.
Yeah.
You know, like if it's a 100-year-old axe and it's a slightly collectible, that's great. I'll have another one that's my daily user or something. And this idea that you can't make tools that look nice too is ridiculous. You know, like there have been plenty of examples of, you know, I think like the old Stanley box cutter or something that were made ornate for a time that celebrated like the 50-year or 100-year or whatever it was. There's plenty of examples of tools that are not just good, but also look good.
Right.
And you know, like every axe, I mean, those axes that I just made, with the exception of the longer ones, the grain orientation is not perfect on those because they're going to be used as railings. But the medium and the short ones, all of the heads are mounted as I would any other project.
Sure.
So like you can swing them into something. Obviously we doled them, you know, so people aren't going to get cut. But
right.
But, you know, if somebody eventually is like, oh, you know what, we're going to take these off the bathroom and like, I'm just going to put an edge on it, you can swing away.
Yeah.
Like they're made right. And I like the serviceability. You know, I think that's maybe some of the bike shop mentality coming back around or what I liked. You know, a handle, yes, I do realize like they are disposable at some level, right? That's going to wear, you're going to overstrike and need to service it.
Yeah.
I like being a part of stuff that you can still service and not throw away.
Yeah.
You know, you can get a pretty roached out axe head with, I actually like when they have a ton of pitting, clean away the rust, put an edge on it, and it's fine.
That's why I told people with our knives, especially with our 52 and 100 stuff that get a little rust on the logo or the edge or whatever, and it's like, sharpen it and go use it. It doesn't have any, in fact, you know, that patina, my mom has, you know, chef's knives from her grandmother and whatnot, and they're all patinaed up, kind of, you know, that rust eventually just turns into a really cool patina, which actually protects that steel, you know, with that. This one here, you know, this one's still got a little bit of, it's starting to build a patina on it. It's been probably wire brushed a little bit or whatever to get some of the heavier patina off. Yeah. But this thing, even if it did kind of rust up and got a patina on it, it actually protects it from rusting more.
It's going to be here much longer than you and I are going to be.
And there again, this thing could be incredibly heavily rusted. I mean, to the worst degree you can imagine.
Yep.
And you take this thing to a grinder and put an edge on it, and it's a functional axe.
Oh yeah.
You know? Oh yeah. And the other thing that I really love is the combination of the new meets old, right? With this beautiful handmade handle. And again, I think people, as they're sitting there in that railing or sitting there on the toilet and they reach over and they touch that handle, like they see like this is handcrafted, handmade in a, you know, shop up in northwestern Montana. Like there's just something so cool about, you know, handmade stuff. And our world has less and less of it, whether it's, you know, leather work, you know, knives, guns, axes. It's just, I don't know. I think it's so cool. And I guarantee you this was made in 1915, it says on it.
Yep.
Is that Beck's, Victor? What's that say?
Yes, it's a Collins, and that was the hardware store is the Beck's Victor. So they would have contracted to sell that with Collins. So they would have been a major distributor of Collins, enough so that they got their own like branded axe.
But I guarantee you, in 1915, the craftsman that made that head and handle and kicked it out would love the idea that a brand new handle was made in 2025, or you made this a couple of years ago, but it would just, I guarantee you they would just be smiling down if they knew or saw us sitting here talking on this podcast with this axe looking like this. And granted, it's beat up on the back of it. It looks used as exactly
you want to. I like leaving that stuff.
I love it.
You know, when I was,
it's a shame to me if you take it off. I actually ask people when I refurbish a knife for somebody.
Yeah.
You know, if you come in, you're like, hey, my dad carried this, you know, K-bar in World War II or whatever, and it's rusted up, got marks on it and whatnot. Maybe it's missing the tip. and I'll ask people, I can put a tip back on it, and maybe without regrinding it, it's going to be really hard to make it a super, super functional knife.
Yeah.
But I always ask people, like, are you wanting me to just get a tip back on it and get it sharp? Or you really want me to regrind this thing? Because I cringe when they're like, oh no, regrind it all and like get all that rust off of it. And I'm like, man, I can, but to me, it just looks like a new knife, and you just lose all that history. Like, I don't know. It would be neat to see the guy that put that dent in it back in whatever year, 1920.
Yeah.
You know, I just think it's cool.
There used to be, you know, when I first started, you know, quote unquote, restoring AXES or whatever. And, you know, the idea was like, all right, I got to get this thing cleaned up because I want it to look new, and you want to put this package. But the more and more I've done now, it's like, sometimes I'll pick a surface, like maybe the top, maybe the pole, if it's, you know, dented up or banged up in a way that's, you know, like it just really was abused more than it was used.
Right.
And I'll pick like one surface, maybe bring that to like a really nice brush finish.
Yeah.
And then just leave all these other surfaces with all the pits. And the contrast, like you said, is I think what gives people, you know, there's a comfort in it, knowing that like, hey, there's a comfort in just owning these things.
Yeah.
And I feel it. And that was kind of a gauge, you know, like I'm such an average kind of Joe, or dude. And I'm like, you know, if I saw something like that, like I did clearly on Instagram, and say, man, that's pretty cool. I was like, other people are going to think that too. It's just, is it enough?
Yeah.
You know, is enough of other people.
And that's what's beautiful about social media is there's plenty of people out there. The social media helps you find them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, back in 1990, it would have been really hard to find those people.
I couldn't even imagine
enough people that respected what you're doing enough to make a living off of it.
There's not a chance that there's enough of a community that I could get out. I mean, maybe, you know, who knows? Maybe if we were going shows together, you just become known as like, oh, there's this axe handle guy that keeps going to all the damn knife shows or something. Right. But it would have been a much different thing. It wouldn't have been something I do from my, you know, home garage under the house.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Yeah, with one picture and a post, you can reach hundreds of thousands of people.
God,
it's super, super cool. Well, what you said you sell some equipment.
So I started importing these Japanese files. You know, it's a tool I started using 4 or 5 years ago from same guy from Australia that gave me the recommendation. And I needed a new one because I was like, hey, you know, I bet you know, 4 years of this, you know, sort of commercial use, I bet you it's lost a little something, but like still feels good, but maybe I'll try a new one. And, you know, like the weird thing about the social media, I guess some of the stuff I don't like, I guess, is like you sort of feel when you're small, am I supposed to like sell stuff? Am I supposed to want them to give me stuff or get sponsored, or, you know, do I want to be an influencer? Do I not want to be? And I don't really like playing the game that much, that side of it. I just don't think I'm that good at it. I don't really want to put on a show. And I was like, let me just see if I can contact these guys in Japan and just say, can I import these? I don't even know, you know, like so much about this business. It's interesting you say about picking people's brains. It's like, I don't get a lot of that. You know, a lot of it is sort of like, sometimes I ask somebody, but I contacted them in Japan, you know, a little bit of language barrier and of course time change. But eventually, you know, I've imported them several times now, and I, you know, just about sell out every time. But, you know, it's because they're great tools. It wasn't, it was something I was already using for 4 years. You know, there's these really nice microfiles that are, one especially is curved, and just makes it so much easier. It's just a beautiful tool. And, because you know, part of the passion is to encourage people to make stuff too. Like, even if, you know, hey, I'm not going to get into, I'm not telling somebody to necessarily get into AXES, but like, maybe learn how to do this thing, you know, like, and I'm totally I'm not going after the outdoorsman that's kind of doing all these things sort of already, or maybe tangentially, or sort of understands it. I'm going after the guy that's never approached any of this stuff before, has a corporate job, and just like, man, I'd love to sit out in the garage, have a beer, maybe sort of muddle my way through this. And so I have two handles I sell too that I had replicated. and they were replicated from like a handmade version that I did.
Right.
So there's still like kind of a nice chain of custody as far as like putting my a signature on it. And, you know, and then you can go on Craigslist and you can find your own vintage axe head, which is still going to be better steel.
And for people that don't know, I mean, it doesn't take tons of equipment to do this stuff. You can do it in your little 2-car garage in suburban America. And I've said this about forging as well. I don't care if it's forging. I don't care if it's leather work, if it's axe handle making, whatever. I see a lot, like with a lot of these veterans struggling after, you know, transitioning and whatnot, just kind of with similar thoughts and whatnot, and maybe a depression and whatnot that like even you were going through.
Yeah.
How good do you feel about yourself if you sit down in your chair at 5 o'clock after work and you sit there for 5 hours and then go to bed, right? Watching TV.
Yeah.
Versus going out to your garage for an hour or two and just getting lost in something, even if it's to then just give away. Again, I'm not saying that everybody that's listening here, or really that anybody's going to go out and turn into an axe handle maker and make a business career out of it. There's probably easier careers or easier ways to make a living. Maybe somebody will, but at the very least, you know, it's amazing how much wood you can move with a rasp. And you get a rasp, you know, a couple rasps and a file or whatever, and a little bit of sandpaper.
Yeah.
And, mess around with it in your garage. I guarantee you when you walk back in the house and take a shower and go to bed, you're going to feel good. You're going to feel good about yourself.
You're excited. I mean, I still, even though it's work, I'm still excited to do it. When I'm in the shop, I got the radio way up.
Yeah.
I got the handle in a vise, and I'm just in a zone. It's snowing outside. You know, I'm thinking about going on the mountain, skiing later.
Yeah, and you can just get lost, and I guarantee you there's going to be times if people that are listening to this go do this kind of thing where your wife's going to be coming out to the garage going, are you going to come to bed tonight or what?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's easy to lose time when you walk into the shop and do that kind of stuff. And again, it keeps I think there's something just very beneficial with using your hands, getting your mind going, and doing something real. That feels real. And the feeling then of whether you give it away or sell it, the validation you get of selling something like that to somebody, or the validation and the feeling you get of just giving that something that you did with your hands to somebody that you know appreciates it.
Yeah.
You can't beat that feeling.
There's a huge amount of pride. I mean, like I said, I gave away the first handle I ever made. I got it back because he busted it. I finally made him give it to me back, I don't know, 2 years ago or something, and I replaced the handle for him. But I gave away the very first one, and I was like, why don't people do this more often? Not necessarily an axe handle, but like just, you know, whether it's making bread for them or something. Like there is like a deeper level to something than even spending a lot of money on somebody, you know. And
that's why even receiving if you receive a plate full of cookies that some lady made, a lady here, Roberta Chapman, you know, she came by the shop the other day to have me sharpen her chef's knives, and she brought a plate full of cookies. It's like, well, there's something more special than a plate full of cookies from Costco. Like, she put her effort and her time into that, you know. She feels good about it. It makes the people, you know, that receive that feel good. Again, doing things with your hands, like you say, it doesn't matter if it's baking or making axe handles. It's and it could be going over and shoveling your neighbor's sidewalk. I mean, just
it's a physical thing. Yeah.
Something physical, something you're doing. I don't know. There's just, I think the downside of social media is the fact that people do sit around so much on their couch, just consuming a screen, whether it's TV or the internet or social media. And again, just doing something real with your hands is.
Well, it gives also a platform to hate too, right? Like for you know,
which is so negative. Even if you're the guy that's out there giving the hate, not receiving it, you can't feel good about yourself.
I understand sometimes the instinct, right? Like I think there's primal jealousy when you see somebody doing well, right? And then the key is you gotta capture that and tilt it to being like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome. He's doing well. I want to do well too. But it's true. Like I don't know, it's one of these podcasts that I've heard it where it's, people want you to do well. They just don't necessarily want you to do better than them.
Right.
And that's, it's a tricky, it starts to get into a tricky game with attention or the lack thereof for other people. Right.
Sure.
And there's an assumption that, if you've done well or you have a big following or platform or whatever, that somehow you think you're wearing that around like, well, I deserve it because I'm the best. And you're like, right. No, man, I got lucky at this game that we're playing.
Well, what I would say is actually what people can't really relate to, but I would say for myself in my case is like, there's also, you can develop a bit of an imposter syndrome too, of like, I don't necessarily feel like I deserve all the attention that we've gotten or the success we've gotten or whatever. And it's like, because I don't place myself over my mentors and a lot of the people that, knife makers that have done everything right and are still struggling knife to knife, month to month to make a living.
Could you have imagined it would be this like this?
Yeah, not like this. I mean, you have goals.
Would you had a crazy, I think I'd heard that you had registered the name ages and ages ago.
Yeah, when I was 19.
And, but then when you finally kind of launched it, I guess like everybody kind of thinks like, oh, what would I do with my lottery winnings or whatever? Did you even let yourself like pretend that, well, this is how I'd structure it? Or did you even like sort of early on, not like 2 years in or 3 years in, but like, let's say 3 months in, did you say like, well, okay, well, if I get this big, then I need to do this. Then did you look at it like that?
No, not at all. Honestly, it's why we built this building, because I wasn't sure that it was really going to grow beyond where it was when we were moving from that garage to this shop.
Yeah.
It's like, well, is this a shooting star? Is it going to burn out? Are we going to screw it up? Whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But like, maybe we grow out of this building in 5 or 6 years if like things kept going at that rate, but more likely like, we'll probably be in my backyard for the next 20 years.
Does it still feel a little like a dream? Obviously you live there, you walk over here. And so you're instantly.
Yeah. Every day it doesn't feel real. And then driving, if my wife and I just drive to town, like last night, drove to town to get a Christmas tree with my daughter and like drive by that building on the interstate.
Whose building is that?
I just drive by and
whose building is that?
No, it's not real. But then you also have this weight of like, holy shit, I got to pay for that.
Yeah.
Okay. And we also have to make sure that all 85 of these people still can keep their jobs. And there's a weight that comes that didn't come with this building. Like I already own the property. It's kind of cool. Like it's a neat building on my property that like, if it would have been in here for the next 20 years, like I'd have been a pretty happy guy.
Yeah.
Like if I can just make knives my whole life on my own property in this building, I'd have been pretty damn happy.
Yeah.
There's definitely a weight that building comes with that didn't come with this one. And also just all eyes are on you now. It's like, you do feel like sometimes some people are waiting for you to fail, you know? So it's like, we remind ourselves here and there, we're like, God, we do have to, like take a deep breath and enjoy the moment. But it's really, frankly, it's really hard to do. I did just happen to run across like our P&L from 2021 and I printed it and I showed it to our executive team yesterday just to show them like, we did more this month than we did that year.
Yeah.
And it's like, God, look how simple, but also like, look how simple it was, what we were doing. And that it makes you feel like you're looking back to something from 1990, but it was 2021.
Are you enjoying the new, cause it's a different challenge for you, right? Like, you being a knife maker, or I think you said a lineman before, running a business like this is completely different. And I know from my experience, just in a very minor way, it's a little different. What I do now is slightly different than when I started, right? Like I'm not just like, oh, let me try and sell the next axe. I'm trying to grow a little bit. And, it's still just me, but I have other products like, I got a full tang hatchet that I'm trying to get off. And I'm enjoying those parts of it too. You know, like maybe it harkens back to, okay, now I'm actually sort of using a business degree or, you know, trying to be strategic. Are you still like pretty engaged? Like, do you feel like, oh, this is more fun than I thought it'd be? Or
yeah, I look at it like I'm still building. Instead of building, say, a knife, like I designed something I want to build to really challenge myself in the custom shop, you know, back when I was doing that. I'm building, I'm not building a knife, I'm building a company. I'm like problem solving, you know, trying to figure all these different things out. Like I love the challenge. Like I do. I absolutely love it. I don't love where my mind sometimes goes when I like let like, well, what if failure happens creep in?
Yeah.
But that's where you got to lean. That's why I'm like, what gives me the confidence is the team that we have between Brandon, you know, Andrew and Jason, my wife, and then the entire team below them. Like if any leg of that triangle doesn't hold its weight, the whole thing collapses, you know, and it's crazy how good of a team that we have.
Yeah.
And I realized like, it's almost like I stop myself once in a while and be like, that's pretty egotistical to think that I can screw this up because I have this entire team now.
That's a good point.
It would have been easier for me to screw it up when we had 3 employees.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I've
actually tried to build this and I'm trying more and more to build this to not need me.
Yeah.
One, to allow myself to actually have a break and to go do things and whatnot. And I'm 45, you're going to wake up in a blink of an eye and be 55. And if you want to build something that's generational, it better not need you, right? So the bigger we get is more pressure, but then also the more the less chance that we're going to screw it up because now we've got more people helping make sure it keeps moving.
Well, you would get space from the brand. It wouldn't just be your face. The Montana Knife Company would elevate above.
Yeah, I believe if I got hit by a semi tomorrow, the MKC would still be MKC. Like we could still move forward, you know. 3 years ago, not sure that would have been the case, you know, or 2 years ago. But that's why you put these really good pieces around you to make sure that, you know, that it keeps going. But yeah, no, it's surreal. It's pretty cool. But it also feels like day one. I mean, that new building, when we move into that, the first of the year is like, okay, we're out of Josh's horse pasture.
Yeah.
Now the mind's a powerful thing. I could sit around right now and tell you how much a month it costs to turn the lights on here. And I can freak myself out about like, oh, we'll never sell that many knives to keep that going. I can also sit here and tell you every reason why we're going to triple the size of the company in the next 5 years and why we'll grow out of that building in 5 to 7 years, you know, and so you have to concentrate on the positive. Like that's what you have to concentrate is on the plan ahead, not, and I think that's why we're doing so great. And I think why some other company, it maybe is because they're more trying to play defense or stop us versus we're not looking back or over our shoulder trying to defend territory. We're pushing ahead and trying to grow. And so, yeah, no, it's pretty cool. But well, we got to wrap. But again, when people come into our coffee shop retail store, they're going to get to see your AXES in the bathroom. But not only that, you and I actually need to chat about like having some AXES out where people can actually, you know, buy them and potentially have, you know, the ability to take them home.
We can do that.
So we should chat about that and see if that's a possibility. It'd be cool to have your AXES in the store. But at the very least, people will be able to check out your AXES in our bathrooms. And I do hope people listening to this, and I really hope that a lot of those people that are coming in there find your website and find your social media. How do people find you and get a hold of you?
It's STUMPTOWN AXES on Instagram, STUMPTOWN AXES YouTube, and then just STUMPTOWNAXES.com just is the website.
And Andy has some in his store, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think he does right now. I think I got to restock them actually.
The Black Rifle up in Kalispell.
Yeah.
You can, if people are traveling around Montana or in Montana up there in the Northwest, they could stop into Kalispell and even see your axes there.
Yep. There's at least one or two. I need to get them more.
Sure.
But I've been busy doing a couple other things.
Awesome. Well, I love it.
Awesome.
Got anything else? All good?
No, man, I appreciate the opportunity. It's a great little talk, and it'd be good to get on the road. It's actually better, we talked about not doing it today just because of the weather, but like I hate stuff hanging over me, especially getting into ski season. Like I'm greedy with my time. And it's like, I'd rather just, if I wasn't going to ski today, it's like, I'd rather just get this done. Otherwise I'd be like, oh man, like it might pop up next week or next week. And
I called Paul this morning. I was like, man, it's the roads, cause we're getting some snow and we're supposed to get a bunch more. And, that drive down here can be dangerous on dry roads.
Yeah.
It's just 2 lane and it's just a lot of traffic and whatnot, but glad you made it safe. And, I appreciate you bringing those down.
Awesome.
All right.